Welcome back, everyone, to Tech Tangents, episode 123. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jenny. Okay, Mark, spill the beans. You've got that look again. The one that says you've fallen down a technology rabbit hole. Is the cold brew times that times good today?
Still tweaking the brew, Jenny, always iterating. But no, it's not just caffeine this time. I've been digging into some research on what's really coming next for computers. And, well, let's just say the future is looking seriously interesting. I'm talking about some substantial advancements.
All right, next generation computers. That's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. Are we talking, like, my laptop getting slightly faster next year, or are we talking science fiction becoming reality?
It's actually both. On one side, you've got the steady improvements we rely on, like AMD's Ryzen PRO chips getting better performance and battery life in the laptops people use every day. Essential stuff. But then there's the other side, the more experimental frontier. That's where things get really wild. Especially with companies like IBM pushing hard on quantum computing.
Quantum. Okay, deep breaths. I hear that word constantly, and it still feels a bit ethereal? Like theoretical physics homework I never understood. Remind me again, what's the core idea, and why should we care?
Right? It's definitely mind-bending stuff. So think about your regular computer. It works with bits. Everything boils down to a 0 or a 1, like a light switch being either off or on. Simple, reliable.
Off or on. Got it. So far, so good.
Quantum computers, though, use qubits. Now, thanks to the weirdness of quantum mechanics, a qubit can be a 0, a 1, or, and here's the tricky part, it can exist in a state that's a combination of both 0 and times 1 simultaneously. It's called superposition.
A combination of both, simultaneously. Okay. My brain is starting to feel fuzzy already, like Schrödinger's cat, but for computing?
Exactly. It's a decent analogy. Because they can hold multiple possibilities at once, they can explore a huge number of potential solutions to a problem in parallel, way faster than a classical computer checking them one by one.
Okay, faster sounds good. But in parallel, how does that translate into real-world power? What kinds of problems actually need times this? Superposition magic?
Think about problems with immense complexity, tons of variables. Designing brand new materials with specific properties, for instance, or simulating how a potential new drug molecule will interact with proteins in the body. Classical computers, even supercomputers, can bog down because the number of possibilities just explodes.
So, drug discovery? Materials science? That sounds genuinely useful. But you said in theory earlier. Is this still mostly confined to research labs with multi-million-dollar budgets?
That's a fair point, and historically, yes. The cost and complexity are significant hurdles. Building and maintaining these machines, it's not like setting up a home PC. They often need extreme cooling, shielding. It restricts access mainly to big corporations and research institutions for now.
Right. So, not something I'll be buying at Best Buy next year then?
Probably not. Next year. Times laughs. But the progress is accelerating. IBM, for example, has made some impressive steps. They built this processor called Condor with 1121 qubits. That's a lot of qubits to manage.
1100. Okay, that sounds like a big number. But does more qubits automatically mean better?
Not necessarily on its own. A huge challenge with quantum computers is errors. Qubits are incredibly fragile. Noise from the environment can mess up the calculations. That's why another IBM processor, Heron, is interesting. It has fewer qubits, 133 I think, but it's designed for much lower error rates. They showed it performing calculations more accurately than previous chips.
So quality over quantity? Potentially? Fewer errors seems critical if you're relying on these things for, say, designing a life-saving drug.
Precisely. Getting reliable results is key. They're starting to talk about reaching quantum utility. That's the point where these machines can consistently solve meaningful problems faster or better than classical computers can.
Quantum utility. Okay, I like that term. Any signs we're getting there?
There are promising signs. I read about an IBM experiment where they simulated the properties of an iron sulfide compound, something relevant for battery tech, I believe. The quantum simulation reportedly ran significantly faster, maybe 50 times, than doing it with conventional high-performance computing methods.
50 times. Okay, now time, that's a concrete difference. And you mentioned the Cleveland Clinic earlier, using quantum for medical research? That feels very grounded, very real world.
Yeah. They're exploring how quantum simulations could help understand diseases or develop new treatments. It signals that shift from pure theory towards tackling practical scientific challenges. The vision many are working towards is what IBM calls quantum-centric supercomputing.
Quantum-centric. Does that mean replacing current supercomputers?
Not replacing, integrating. Think hybrid systems. Like a high-performance team, you have your reliable classical processors doing the bulk of the work they're good at, and then for the really complex, specific calculations that quantum excels at, you hand those off to the quantum processor. Best tool for the job.
Okay, a hybrid approach makes intuitive sense. Use the strengths of each. But quantum isn't the only big shift happening, right? You also mentioned AI you used the term agentic AI. What's that about?
Oh yeah. Agentic AI is another huge area moving quickly. We're used to AI like ChatGPT that responds to our prompts. Agentic AI takes it a step further. These are AI systems designed with more autonomy.
Autonomy? How so?
They can be given a goal, and then they can figure out the steps to achieve it. They can make a plan, use various tools like accessing websites, using software, running code. They can even ask for clarification if they get stuck. Crucially, they often have memory and can learn from interactions over time.
Okay, an AI that can plan and use tools. I can see how that could be useful. Like a super-powered virtual assistant that doesn't just set reminders, but actually manages complex projects?
Exactly. Or imagine AI agents in a lab planning and executing experiments based on research goals, or sophisticated systems managing complex logistics networks, or analyzing financial markets and making trades based on evolving strategies. The potential applications are vast. Analysts at Gartner predict these could become quite common within just a few years.
That sounds potentially very powerful. But, Mark, let's address the elephant in the server room. If AI becomes that times autonomous and capable, what happens to human jobs? There's already so much anxiety about automation.
And that anxiety is completely valid. It's a huge societal question we need to grapple with. Some reports, like one from McKinsey, suggest that automation, accelerated by AI, could displace a significant number of jobs globally, maybe hundreds of millions by 2030, depending on the pace of adoption.
Hundreds of millions. Wow, that's sobering. It's not just automating repetitive tasks anymore. It sounds like it could affect jobs needing complex decision-making.
It could. It really underscores the need for proactive thinking, investing heavily in retraining and upskilling programs, adapting educational systems, and maybe even exploring broader societal safety nets. It's not just a tech challenge. It's an economic and social one.
And the ethical concerns don't stop at jobs, do they? If these autonomous agents are making decisions in areas like hiring, loan applications, or even healthcare, what about bias? We already know current AI can inherit biases from its training data.
Absolutely critical point. If an AI learns from biased historical data, say biased hiring practices, it could perpetuate or even amplify those unfair patterns, but now at scale, and potentially without easy oversight. Think about biased facial recognition failing certain demographic groups. Now imagine that kind of bias embedded in systems making critical decisions.
Yikes! So how do we prevent that? How do you build fairness into an autonomous agent?
It's a massive area of research called AI alignment and AI safety. It involves developing techniques to ensure AI goals align with human values, building robust testing protocols, ensuring transparency in decision-making. It's about creating, as Gene Alvarez from Gartner put it, stricter guardrails. Finding that balance between enabling innovation and managing the inherent risks.
Stricter guardrails. Feels essential. Okay, so we've got quantum leaps potentially speeding up science, and AI getting more autonomous, bringing both promise and peril. What else is cooking in this next-gen stew? You mentioned the everyday improvements too.
Right, because it's not all happening decades out or in specialized labs. The chips in our devices continue to evolve. Companies like AMD and others are constantly pushing for better performance per watt. That means laptops and devices get faster, more responsive for things like video editing or gaming, but also, importantly, run longer on battery.
Ah, performance per watt. The efficiency angle. That's got to be increasingly important, right? Especially when you talk about massive quantum computers and AI data centers.
Hugely important. The energy consumption of large-scale computing is substantial. Data centers already consume a significant chunk of global electricity. Add energy-hungry quantum systems and the massive computations needed for training large AI models, and you see why efficiency is paramount.
So what's being done about it, besides just making individual chips more efficient?
It's a multi-pronged effort, designing more efficient system architectures, developing specialized hardware like low-power GPUs or other accelerators specifically for AI tasks, improving cooling technologies for data centers, and even strategically locating data centers near renewable energy sources. Reducing the carbon footprint isn't just nice to have anymore. It's becoming a core design constraint.
Okay, so the ideal future is smarter, faster, more capable, and hopefully significantly greener. Tying it all together, Mark, what does this confluence of quantum, agentic AI, and efficiency look like in, say, 5 or 10 years?
Well, looking at roadmaps, IBM hopes to have their quantum-centric supercomputing infrastructure operational around 2033. So, within 10 years, we'll likely see much more of that hybrid computing model in high-performance domains. Classical, quantum, AI accelerators, all working in concert.
And maybe those neuromorphic brain chips you mentioned?
Chuckles. Hey, research is happening. Maybe not mainstream in 10 years, but definitely influencing designs. More broadly, I think we'll see much tighter integration of AI into our workflows. Not just chatbots, but proactive AI collaborators helping manage complexity, analyze data, maybe even using augmented reality interfaces to present information.
It sounds like a fundamental shift in how we interact with computing. Less direct command, more collaboration.
I think that's a good way to put it. It's this blend of quantum power for specific hard problems, increasingly capable AI for reasoning and task execution, and continued hardware improvements making it all run efficiently. It's poised to reshape industries, accelerate science, but brings those crucial ethical and societal questions right along with it.
So, recapping the big themes. Quantum is moving from pure theory towards practical utility, though cost and errors are still challenges. SI is becoming more autonomous, offering powerful tools but raising serious questions about jobs and bias that need careful management. And underpinning it all is a drive for energy efficiency.
That's a great summary, Jenny. We're seeing these potentially transformative technologies mature, moving into real-world applications like the Cleveland Clinic work. It's a fascinating time, but definitely requires keeping our eyes wide open to the implications.
Indeed. Okay, my brain is officially full for today. Thanks for navigating us through that complex landscape, Mark. It's a lot to think about.
My pleasure. It's exciting stuff to explore, and maybe a question for our listeners to ponder. Which potential application of either quantum computing or agentic AI are you most curious or perhaps most concerned about? Let us know.
Great question. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Find us on the socials or our website. We'll be back next week with another topic. Until then, stay curious.
Thanks for listening to Tech Tangents.